Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Tees. With our inspirational tees, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Tees. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Tees at dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. Hey guys, this is Earnest James, host of the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and I got a question to ask you. Could you buy me a cheeseburger? Better yet, could you buy me a value meal? Yes? Well, guess what? I don't need a value meal. However, for the cost of a value meal, you can support this podcast to keep us on the air. Just go to Patreon/Deal to Heal podcast and choose any one of the 3 tiers that's available. And if you just want to make a one-time donation, go to Cash App and make a donation to $EJames, the number 418. Make a one-time donation to the Cash App, or again, go to Patreon to support this podcast and keep us on the air. Thanks in advance. Be blessed. Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, to heal, and to fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you like, listen, subscribe, and share to our podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, on our Spotify, on wherever you find us. We're on all your social media platforms. Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Make sure that you are following us and subscribing to us. And also, guys, I'm going to tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast, but you got to stay until the end of the episode in order to get that information. So real quick, guys, got a lot of things going on, and I'm happy that we have another announcement. We just are currently recording, and by the time that you hear this, I'm sure it'll be up and running. Our very first Girl Dad Discussions podcast, which is a new podcast that we are developing and we're putting out, that actually came from segments of this podcast. And so I'm so excited for that. And if all things go well, my guest today will be my first guest on that podcast, which is the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Looking forward to having that. But that being said, today, just like any other day, we are blessed with a guest, Mr. Peterson. How you doing?
Doing well. How you doing?
I am good, man. So first of all, let me say thank you for being on because you could be anywhere doing anything. And you took our time to be here with me and my guest. So we definitely appreciate it. I want you to know that up front. So that being said, one thing that I know about you is you are a brand new, fresh girl dad, like brand new. So do me a favor, man. Just now that you are a girl dad, tell me, what does it mean for you to be a girl dad, and what is something that your daughter has taught you or showed you?
That's a great question. First of all, thank you for having me on here. I think what it means to be a girl dad it's a loaded question, but I think you should, it means like patience, it means happiness. It means kindness. It means a lot to a lot of people. But right now, as I'm learning on month 2 right now, it's love right now. That's what it means to me. It means love. And my daughter has taught me. My daughter has taught me so much. I'm trying not to cry right now, but
It's all good. It's all good. That's what fatherhood is about. Hey,
hey,
I'll put it this way: my baby not a baby no more. She finna be 20
yeah.
in a couple days, and so right now you got tears of happiness because one day you're gonna have tears of frustration.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You know what?
So
Look,
it's all good, brother.
look, I've been crying every day. At least once a day, I've been crying every time I look at her because she taught me patience, and she filled a void in me that I had I didn't know I had. You know, and it's a blessing because me and my wife, we able to give my daughter a life that neither of us ever had too. So um, I just think that she impacted me in a way of being a fighter because she spent 25 days in the NICU, which is the neonatal intensive care unit, and being born as a preemie. You seeing my daughter do that was like, I'm like, all right, if my daughter can make it through that, I have to go over and beyond for her. So yeah, that's my daughter though. That's my baby.
That's right. I love it, man. I love it. Oh man. So now we're gonna really get into it, man. And we probably even gonna hit on that a little bit more. But do me a favor, introduce yourself to my listeners, let them know who you are and what it is that you do.
Yes, sir. My name is Thuran Peterson. I am an artist. My artist name is Huey G. I'm also an entrepreneur and a marathon runner. Okay. Well, I'm a runner in general. Uh, yeah. So what I basically do, I make music. I'm promoting health and mental health and physical health throughout a multitude of my brands right now. So um, yeah, I think my favorite thing is making music and running, and they kind of go hand in hand because I don't know who want to run the heavy breathing all day, but
Well, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on because I wanted us to talk about the running because I know me and you connected, and I wanted to get more into running and be able to run a marathon one day. I'm not there, but I'm working on it, and hopefully one day soon I'll be able to get out there and get at that point. So let's go back a little bit. I know you're an artist now. I know you're running now, an entrepreneur and everything. But there was a time before you got into running, and maybe you were going through some things that got you to this point. So tell me a little bit about your backstory. Tell me a little bit about and even you mentioned about your daughter, with you and your wife being able to give your daughter a life that you guys didn't have. You know what I mean? So tell us a little bit about your backstory and how it brought you to this place that you are now.
yeah, I love to. Basically, I grew up with my grandparents, my paternal grandparents. So, growing up in that, I grew up in a nuclear household, but technically I didn't grow up with my father and my mother, even though they were still active in my life. But my day to day, I grew up since I was like, 6 months. I was living in Harvey my whole life. So growing up in Harvey is a different environment. If you know about the neighborhood, you know about the neighborhood. But not having not having your parents there like together, it could be difficult for some children. You go to school, like, oh, my dad picking me up, my mom picking me up. Even though they did pick me up from time to time, it was like, all right, we need your parents to sign your permission slip. I remember one time I was in kindergarten, no, I think first grade, and I was like, hey, is it okay for my grandparents to sign my permission slip? And just that thought process as a kid was weird to me. But now that I'm older, my dad told me something. He said, son, you and your wife, y'all are giving your daughter a life that you guys didn't have. And we realized that, like, coming out of the NICU, I'm like, we really together and we really have parents. And my wife, obviously, she didn't grow up with her parents together. She grew up with her mom, but that you know, having that family dynamic was important. So giving that to my daughter is important. So growing up, I grew up with my grandparents for 16 years, and year 16, I think it was 4 days before my birthday, my grandmother passed. My dad's mother, she passed away 4 days before my birthday. And to show you how she was real old school too. She, you know, Southern. She's Southern to the bone. Um, she threw me a birthday party at the Harvey Community Center. So she went back and she told my mom, she said, "Hey, make sure that boy still had that party." That's how she talked. Make sure that boy still had that party. Mind you, I'm 16, about to be 17. I don't want to have no birthday party. My she never made me call her mom, nothing. That was my granny, but my maternal figure that was in my house passed away. So obviously that created some frustration for me as a child. You know, losing somebody that was so impactful in your life, especially within your household. So the dynamics of your household change as well. Mm-hmm. So now you're just in a single parent household, you know, not due to the traditional things of people separating, people, you know, going. Nobody got killed or anything. So like for a good person to pass away from a sickness, which was cancer, it didn't seem fair to me as a kid, you know. So obviously as a teenagers got a gang of emotions, which I know you probably already know. You got a gang of emotions. And that creates anxiousness, you know. It creates anxiousness. And I think the following year, my cousin passed away from a car accident. And he was 24 years old, and he passed away in a car accident. He was straight edge, didn't smoke, didn't drink, and he passed away. I think the following year, and that was like, he was like a brother. You know how you got those cousins that's like brothers. Mm-hmm. Brother. And after he passed away, so obviously it was more happening, you know, at that time. And I started to lose people back to back over the years. And it was a certain time where I didn't expect myself to even survive past 24, you know? I'm like, man. So I just tried to do everything I possibly can. But anxiety took over my life when I was way older. You know, sometimes with anxiety, it allows you to keep pushing. Mm-hmm. Then as you, I'm sorry, this is kind of difficult to talk about now that I'm breaking it down, but it allows you to keep pushing. And as you keep pushing, your life can be normal. But it can be a moment where you go through it and you're like, oh, I'm having an anxiety attack. I'm having a panic attack. What's going on? And it happens so fast and out of nowhere. And then you feel like you're over it, but then your body starts to react. Like, granted, even though I started therapy in December, my body is reacting to anxiety I had a year ago, you know, stress that I had a year ago. Like, I don't know if you could tell, I didn't make a mistake in the you know, while I was lining myself up or nothing. But right here, this is like part of my mustache stopped growing recently because of stress. So my body came back and like later on, like, hey, you know, it's going through it. So we're like, whatever you go through, like stress and like anxiousness, even dealt with depression at that time, whatever you go through, your body is going to feel it as well. And then, you know, yeah. So it's anxiety was a thing that came about through grief as well.
So I want to talk a little bit about that, just with the grief real quick, because one of the things that you said was, you know, about losing your grandmother, which is a good person that's, you know, passing away. And one of the things I talk about sometimes is, you know, we ask ourselves, why do bad things happen to good people? Mm-hmm. You know, and so the way that I address it is bad things happen to good people to show good people they can make it through bad things, you know. And so the reason why that's how I identify with it, because I think about my own life and growing up with, my mom and dad. When we were younger, our life was like real good. Or should I say when I was younger? Of course, my parents was younger, but I would say when at my youngest part, I remember my dad working for the phone company. I remember us having our own house and cars and going on the family trips because we had a camper. I remember all of that. But then I remember when the situation happened and he lost his job and ended up losing everything. And then we end up having, at that time, it was my mom, my dad, and myself, and my 8 siblings. So it's 12 of us. And we went from having our own house, own car, own yard. We had a dog and the whole like American dream. And then we end up losing everything and end up staying in one bedroom in my grandmother's house. 12 people, one bedroom, And so I think about that and I'm like, man, my dad was a good guy. He's a veteran. You know what I mean? He worked, he worked hard and everything. And then my mom, of course, my mom was a minister and a pastor. And, I'm like, why would this happen to these two good people? You know what I mean? And living through that myself and then going through, things as an adult, even going through things coming up into my adulthood. And now we're having the platform that I have and being able to talk to people. The way I look at it is, yeah, bad things happen to good people so that good people can let other good people know that they can make it through bad things. Because now I'm able to say, hey, yeah, it wasn't right. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know why it happened. We don't know what the backstory was that we had to go through what we had to go through. But because you're a good person, don't neglect the fact that you have to live life. You know what I mean? And don't neglect the fact that good is going to happen and bad is going to happen, but you can make it through it. And so that's the way I kind of explain it from my perspective, because my mom and dad were good people, and I definitely applaud my dad, because there's so many guys who have walked away from their families in hard times. And for my dad not only to stay during the hardest times, but to stay all the way up until now. And even now my mom has passed away, but my dad's still here and he's still holding us down. He's still active in all of our lives. If any of us have something going on or whatever, we can call him and be like, hey dad, I need this, or I'm going through this. And so just looking and reflecting on that, it's like, yeah, bad things do happen to good people, but we can make it. We can make it through it, And so that's kind of the way I look at that, And again, even mentioning with my mom passing away, and I went through my whole bout with depression and suicidal ideations at that time and things like that. So, what would you say, dealing with the loss of your grandmother, and then the loss of your friends and people that you lost back to back, as you said, what were some of the things that kind of helped you get through that grief during that time, and even now, because grief is a never ending it's a never even ending cycle. Like I said, at this time my mom probably has been gone probably 10 years or more, and depending on the day and the time, it feels like it's 10 years ago. Sometimes I feel like it was 10 minutes ago. You know what I mean? So it just, the grief cycle never ends, but what would be some of the things that, maybe have helped you just to maintain and to continue to function through that grief wheel, even up to this point?
All right. So now so I can answer this in two ways. So pre-fatherhood. Okay, let's do pre-fatherhood, because fatherhood is the easy answer.
Easy and complex at the same time.
Right. Pre-fatherhood, I dealt with it by sometimes going back to places that me and my grandmother frequently visited, So and then playing the same music that my grandmother and I would listen to on the way there. So I have if you really want me to cry, right? If you like, oh, he get on my nerves, I'm gonna make him cry. Play Luther Vandross' Dance to My Father again. Okay. So that was her favorite song because she was thinking about her father, and we would talk, and we'd have our conversations. So mind you, I never met him, but just for us to have those conversations, okay, I knew how much it meant to her, so it meant a lot to me. And then also, I started to create music and express my emotions through music. Um, that that started a long time ago, but that started because it was one day she was on hospice, and I came back home and I made a song in my room, and my grandfather's in the other room. Obviously, I'm being loud, you know. My grandmother even told me, she's like, "You better stop all that rapping." Like, prior to her being sick, because I was obviously in there doing things I wasn't supposed to do. I was out here saying words I wasn't supposed to say. I almost caught a couple lefts and rights behind what I was saying, but being able to voice my opinion and voice, like, I always wanted to be that. I always wanted to be the artist that I needed as a kid. I couldn't relate to people driving Benzes and wearing Gucci all day. That wasn't my reality. I couldn't relate to people shooting people in the streets. It's not my reality. So music, and then I picked up running recently, a couple years back. Picked up running. I picked up running because I think I think it has something to do with COVID. Like, I was out there and I was like, you know what, let me just go out here, because I'm out here moving around anyway. I was traveling state to state working, so I started to run. So I would listen to music and just move, because I was like, I needed another space. And running became a big focal point in my life because I've experienced peace. Because first of all, when you're running, you have no time to talk. You have no time to think about. You have time to think, obviously. You have no time to stress, because your body is releasing that stress as you're running. You get what I'm saying? Now, granted, no runner will ever tell you, "Oh, I'm just going out for a jog." So most of my time, I was jogging for real, but but running full pace, you're definitely not stressing about anything. But running was a big thing for me, and it played a big part of my life. And my first running event ever was running this marathon. And I remember sitting at that line, and just like, I'm like, man, sometimes I would forget that certain people passed away. I was like, man, I want to call Granny and tell her I'm on the starting line right now. I'm about to do something big. And it was like, it was a big moment. So running helped me, like, get through things. But then once I overcome things, I feel so good that it comes to a point where I forget. But to follow up the last part I was saying, post fatherhood, like, as I'm in fatherhood now, my daughter, I can look at my daughter. I can have a hard day. I can be stressed out. I just look at my daughter, and she'll make a face. She'll look at me. She'll smile. And a lot of my family members say she looked like me. So she crying right now. A lot of my family members say she looked like me, but I recently took her to my aunt, my grandmother that passed away. Both my grandmothers passed away, but my dad's mother, I took her to her sister's house, my grandmother's sister's house, and she looked at her and she said, "You know what? You look just like my sister." And it created a peace in me, even though, like, it just created such a peace in my heart where it relaxed me. And certain things I'll just talk to my daughter about. I'm like, hey, and she's just looking at me crazy. She don't know. She has this little face on a lighter note. She has this little face she makes, right? When, like, it doesn't matter. It can just happen out of, she'll be like this. She'd be like this. So it was one, I think 2 nights ago, I was feeding her. And I put the wrong nipple on the bottom, and it was like a slow flow nipple. So, like, I'm feeding her, and it's taking forever, right? So I decided, and this is prior before me poking a hole in the bottle. It's taking forever. So I don't know if you guys know about babies. Like babies, they just throw their hands up, right, for no reason. So my daughter has this face. She has this face. So it's taking forever. And she's, I'm like, I'm sorry.
What you doing, man?
Right? Come on now. And she, I'm like, so those moments, it really brings peace to me, in those anxious times. But,
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that, man. I know one of the things, you talk a lot about, we've talked here about, your daughter and things, but I know one of the other things that you're big on health, and I definitely know running it plays a part of that, what your physical health, but also your mental health. And you mentioned also about going to therapy. So how important has therapy been for you, and how important do you think a part that it plays not only in, for your own mental, but I know that, you are an advocate as well as myself for it, you know what I mean? And especially in these circles, young Black men, and just in the Black community as a general, that I definitely talk about it because I want us to know that is an option. We don't have to suffer in silence with some of the things that we deal with. And then, my background and also some of yours growing up in the church, a lot of times we're taught to pray everything away. And it's like, well, the Bible even says faith without works, So when you get done praying, you got to put some work in, which means you got to get the help that you need. First natural, then spiritual. Take care of your natural man, and your spiritual man won't have it so hard. You know what I mean? Right. So, just tell me a little bit about that journey as far as, dealing with your own mental health challenges and going to therapy and how that benefited you.
Just to start off, right? I just want to touch on what you just said. You said, we taught to pray on it. When Sister Mabel throw her back out, she gonna pray on it, right? But she also gonna hop over to the hospital, right? So
yeah. She should anyway.
Right, she should. I know, some of us throw the ice pack on there, but look, before I get into my therapy session, I just want to let everybody know that a lot of jobs, and this is how I got free therapy. Free therapy. A lot of jobs have a thing called an EAP program, which is an employee assistance program. And they provide, some companies provide 5, some companies provide 10 sessions, 10 free sessions or 5 free sessions per diagnosis, So like they have 5 to 10 for anxiety, 5 to 10 for depression, 5 to 10 for, a multitude of things. So please, whatever job that you work at, go, usually you talk to your HR or it's on your company employee website or whatever. Go and find that EAP program or ask your HR about, hey, do we have an EAP program? And if so, I would like to check it out. They also provide financial help, meaning they help you with budgeting. Then they also provide, other health things. Like my job has a thing called Omada. So it's like where it's kind of like an accountability thing where you have a team and, have a coach that, texts you, and it's like a little app and everything. So they send you a free scale, or if you have like high blood pressure or something, they send you a pump. And it's a lot of things that your job provides, but they just don't advertise it as much within your job. So just to start off with that, check out the EAP program, Employee Assistance Program. Most jobs have. So that's how I got into therapy. I started off, and I'm gonna say this, and I love that lady. I forgot her name though, but I started off with a Black therapist, a Black woman therapist as well, right? But this was at a time where I was at a different company, and I didn't do the EAP correctly, right? So I had to pay $125 per session if she wanted to do that, 4 times out the month. And at the pay rate I was getting at that time, I'm not forking out $125 every session. So when I transitioned to this new company that I'm with, I finally did the process right, but I wasn't very particular about the therapist. I'm like, I just give me somebody. I need to talk to somebody. Because my wife, I made an agreement with my wife that I would go and talk to somebody, because I told her I'm not talking to my family. I'm not talking to friends. I'm not talking to family, because we all know sometimes, and this is not all family members, but we all know family will, you could tell your family member something and they'll turn around and be like,
it'll come back up.
Telephone. So I'll be like, man, I just tripped. I scraped my knee in the street. It'll go from you. And by the time it get back to me, it's like, oh yeah, I heard you had flipped the whole truck over in the street. So that's why I went to therapy, and I made an agreement with my wife. So I got into therapy. Shout out to my therapist. Man, I love that dude. He's funny. He talked like Matthew McConaughey for real, in real life. Right. Mm-hmm. So he kind of got he got that real chill vibe about him. But me and him, we talked, and therapy gave me tools. It gave me tools on how to maneuver. Like, I had issues with prominent members in my life, like people in my life. And I'm like, how do I set boundaries? And he taught me he gave me the tools on how to set boundaries. Never said, you need to go and do this. He was like, hey, I suggest that, this is the process that I used before. And we talk. And then we break down the layers of emotions and mindset. So I have a lot of mindset change within therapy as well. And even even with my therapist, we'll sometimes tap in with, we'll look at certain videos. He'll send me, he'll call them learning experiences or something like that. He gonna kill me if he'll kill me if I get it wrong. But basically it's like little homework he sent me, and I'll go through that and I'll check that out. I'm like, oh, that's a different way to look at it. That's a different way to do this and do that. And even when I had my daughter, my last therapy session, I was in the hospital with my wife and my daughter. So me and him, we discussed oh, how do you feel about this big life change? And it's not the traditional, I'm on the couch talking to him, doing it just like this. And I'm talking to him. He's somebody that I don't have to worry about. All right, I'm telling you this, and I'm worried about you saying something. So I'm not I'm not filtering anything with him. And it was a lot of things that I had mistakes with, I dealt with wrong, and it's a lot of things that I learned how to set boundaries. I learned how to take my time. I learned how to do it right. Therapy has helped me. I'm a different person with therapy now. And I feel like that I needed to go to therapy and also read Proverbs, right? And so I can be a great father, because I didn't want to pass down no generational trauma to my daughter. And my wife agreed to go to therapy as well. So I think that's the biggest thing about therapy, because I want to be a great parent, and I want to be great for myself. So if I'm good for myself, I'd be good for my wife, and I'd be good for my daughter. So, I can follow God, and then I'm following, then I'm taking care of myself and taking care of my wife and taking care of my daughter.
Now, I think what you just said is so awesome. And I want to applaud you guys, not only for having the conversation, first of all, between you and your wife, but not just agreeing that you would go, but even that she would go. You know what I mean? Even, you know what I mean? So both of you guys having the strength to say, you know what, we want to be better parents. We want to be better for each other. You know what I'm saying? And then just want to be better individually, that you both will make the decision that, you know what, we're going to do this. We're both going to go. We're both going to do what's necessary, to overcome our past traumas. So we're not bringing it into our marriage, number one. And then we're not passing it on to our child. You know what I'm saying? And I think that plays such an awesome part, in your life and in your marriage, definitely. And even marriage counseling, you know what I mean? And a lot of people think about, and here's my advice for anybody when you're talking about therapy or any kind of counseling, you know what I'm saying? Don't wait till you need it. You know what I mean? Don't wait till you need it. Go before you need it, so you never will need it. And
Right.
if you need it, you already have it. You know what I mean? And so I really want to applaud you guys for taking out the time and even coming together to do that as a family. I think that's amazing. And I think that is going to show itself in your marriage. It's going to show itself in your parenting. It's going to show itself in you guys individually. And then some of those boundaries that you had to set with even some of your family members, you guys will then become the example. You know what I mean? And so I'm so totally proud of you guys for making that decision and for following through with it, man. And I'm going to be excited to watch you guys grow. You know what I'm saying? So before we get out here, let's talk a little bit about the music, right? And your musical persona, because I know you talked about being an advocate for mental health and even how you put some of that into your music. So tell us a little bit about your alter ego, and and a little bit about your music.
Yeah. So I go by on the artist side, I go by the name Huey G. So where I got the name Huey from, if you guys know anything about the Black Panthers, not the movie, but the actual movement. I grew up, and I seen them, and I'm like, man, Huey P. Newton and Fred Hampton, and like seeing all those individuals and how they came together and unified and created change within the community. I like that, so I adapted the name, and it really divided, because me and my cousin and we was rapping at first, and they was like Starsky and Hutch, and then I was Huggy Bear, so I just switched to Huggy to Huey, and I really didn't care for the name as much, because it was like, come on, what is that? But I like Huey because it was like it stood for something in my heart, and then the G, I'm gonna forever say this. The G the G stands for my grandfather's name. We're gonna call him Jorge because like his real name out there. But you can put the pieces together.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so like basically that's how the name came about. It's from Huey P. Newton and from my grandfather, because those two men I admire, and I admire their struggle. Even though Huey P. Newton had his struggles and things of that nature, but just having the pride within taking care of his community and taking care of himself. So that's my I strive to be vulnerable with my music. So I started making music because like I said before, I didn't relate to anybody. I didn't relate to Gucci growing up, Gucci Mane. I didn't relate to 50 Cent, even though I love their albums. I didn't relate to even people that was even like super conscious. Like, I didn't relate to them fully, because that wasn't my experience. So I've scoured the internet. This is in the time of LimeWire, where you burning CDs and you finding your favorite artists. I was found out about Soulja Boy before he blew up on SoundClick and all that. So it was like, with the music, I wanted to create that. So I started to make music, and the vulnerability I have in my music, it's real. It's nothing fabricated. It's nothing that, like, honestly, if I was to play my music and you'll be like, okay, you're not lying about this, like I I'm not. You're like, oh yeah, when did you have 75 bricks in a Toyota? Like, I'm not talking about none of that. Like,
Right.
but I talk about mental health in a lot of my music too. Though now I do. I got a lot in the vote that's really impactful. I like to use my platform. I use music as marketing. I don't use it. People think like, oh, I'm gonna drop this song, I'm gonna make $1 million. Nah, this is marketing. Like, I know this is gonna be an automatic loss because you're paying for studio time or you buying your equipment or whatever the case. It's an automatic loss when you release music, because you still got to pay for promotion, you still got to advertise. So you're not really making money from the music. You're making money from what comes from it. Like, it gives you leverage. And also, I want to help people out there. It might be a little kid that's growing up in a situation like me. That's a dreamer. So I always did what me and you like to call the white people stuff. I always did that. So when I create this music, I do that. And I think the craziest experience I had with it was I did a show. Rest in peace to my homegirl Capri. I love her so much. She taught me the business of music. She had this show called Booze and Beats, and I did a show down at the Underground. It was a place called the Underground Wonder Bar, which is down the street from the Rock and Roll McDonald's on Clark, right? So I did that. So you see you see Black people, you see Hispanics, you see white people, and I'm down there singing this song. And she came down and said, she's like, I was wondering who was down there screaming to the top of their lungs and all that. And like, imagine I didn't know how to perform at the time, nothing. So I'm just like, all I know, my point of reference is my brother that does rock music. And like I seen him scream, and I'm like, okay, this what you do. So I'm on the mic just rocking it, and it's a video on my YouTube. And it's just people just jumping and singing a song that they heard for the first time. And it gave me chills to this day, you know, and it was a beautiful experience. And to be able to touch people musically is like, it helps me, you know, because I'm like, okay, at least one song has changed. At least one song has changed somebody. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, music has been a focal point of my life for a while as well. But I just want to bring it all the way back to Harvey. Harvey has made me the man I am. You know, obviously it's my family, but the city has made me the man I am. I just want to shout out this one publication called Harvey World Herald, made by this young lady named Amethyst Davis, and she tells the stories of the city that's like the unsung hero. Like people know Harvey for crime and crooked politicians, but she tells the story of those students that are doing big things. Those people that people don't know that certain kids from Harvey got like the Bill Gates scholarship, you know, and like even with me, I'm the first. Just to touch back on it, I'm the first graduating class of this program called Navistar that was put in a District 205, which is a diesel mechanics class that started in 2010. And I was a recipient for a $5,000 scholarship, an academic scholarship from Navistar. So those things that's spoken about, those things go like they go unsung for a lot of people. So, just using this platform for marketing so I can provide this opportunity, provide more opportunity for people in the city, because my main goal, end it right here, but my main goal is I want to create a EAP-esque program for the citizens of Harvey. And I want to be able to provide, which is outlandish idea, but if it's not big, is it really good?
Right.
Even though I know we house like 27,000 people, I want to create a program, probably with government fund, with most likely government funding, where we get 5 free sessions for each Harvey resident. So that's one of my things. Like I really
free therapy sessions.
Free therapy sessions, because some people in the city not heard.
Right.
We got a lot of talent in there, and it's like some people in the city are not heard. So I really want to create that program. So if anybody's listening, anybody watching, any government officials, any grant writers, anything, please contact me, because I really want to provide that for the city, and I feel like that's something that we can do. We can give Link, out, or EBT. If we can give that out, if we can give other assistance through other programs, why can't we give free therapy for the people of my city?
Right. And just so for those who don't know, because I know you keep saying Harvey, but we are talking about Harvey, Illinois, which is a suburb of the city of Chicago, south of Chicago. And so that's what we're talking about, Harvey, Illinois. So for those who don't know, just for the listeners, I know we know. No problem. So, man, Thuran, I thank you so much for being on, man. I definitely enjoyed this conversation and definitely look forward to having you on the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, which is our new podcast. Make sure you guys go check that out, because by the time this come out, that will be out. Yes, you know what I mean? So Girl Dad Discussions podcast, make sure you guys check that out. But I definitely look forward to having you on there, and we talk about fatherhood and being a girl dad.
You got You gotta meet my daughter too.
Oh, definitely. We'll have our own too. It'd be like if you heard Isn't She Lovely? By Stevie Wonder, and they had a little baby, and that's his daughter in the song. You know what I mean? So we'll put it on the podcast, and it'll be in history forever.
Right.
What I'm saying? Definitely. So Thuran, I want you to have the last word. I want you to leave us with something. I want you to leave us with something impactful, inspirational, however you feel, just to leave us and our listeners with something that we can take with us, just to help us get through whatever it is that we're going through. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll give you a couple minutes to think about that. To my listeners, hey, I told you guys at the beginning of the podcast, I will tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast. And you can win $100 from the podcast by joining our super subscriber contest, which means you must subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and our podcast on Spotify. And after you've done those three things, text the word WIN, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730. That's the number 866-326-0730, which is our text line, and you can qualify to win $100. So the contest is ongoing, which means it never stops, and it's random. So at any time, I can pull a name and you win $100 from the podcast. Also, guys, make sure you're checking out our. Make sure you guys are checking out our websites. Our company website is up, which is dealhealfulfill.org. If you go there, you will be able to see everything that we have going on as a company, which is myself as a speaker, as an author, as a podcaster. You'll be able to find everything that we do there on that website. Also, check out eBooks by E. James website, which is the website where I host all of my ebooks. And at the time when this come out, I have 3 ebooks that's up now. I'm also working on a new book called Start Your Podcast Now. So if you're interested in, you love listening to podcasts and say, you know what, I think that's something I can do, go to ebooksbyejames.com and pick up that ebook. It's Start Your Podcast Now in 3 steps. You know what I mean? 3 easy steps, get you started right away. So you guys can check that out. So Thuran, like I said, man, I definitely appreciate you being on. Definitely appreciate your story. Looking forward to watching you grow as a husband and as a father. And I just think it's going to be an amazing journey. And I'm be glad that I'll be able to have some part of it. You know what I mean? To say I was around. You know what I mean? So do me a favor. Leave us with a word of expression, however you feel to express. Definitely make sure you give us your social media handles and where we can find you and your work. And so the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. First of all, I would just like to thank you for having me on. I would like to let everyone know to accept who you are, be yourself. Nobody else can be you but you, because everybody else is taken. Right. Mm-hmm. I believe that's a quote from Maya Angelou, if I'm not mistaken. But be yourself, because everybody else is taken. That's what I live by. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm a father. I'm not ashamed to say that I cry every day seeing my daughter, not tears of sadness, but tears of joy. And I would also like to let everyone know to please, if you feel like you're having a hard time, mentally or physically, go to therapy, because people don't realize that sometimes gluttony could be an issue as well. And that's what I follow as well. So, just go to therapy, be vulnerable, be yourself, be courageous, take a risk, because you don't know who's watching you. And that's pretty much it. To leave you guys with my social media handles. On YouTube is at Huey G, HUEEG, HUEEG. My Instagram is Huey.G, HUEE.G, and Facebook is Huey G, HUEEG. But yeah, I'd like to just thank you again. Please cop them ebooks because the 4 core is hard. I love the 4 core. So if y'all want to know where to start with the 4 core. This is my favorite. I'm just being biased. Okay. Start with the 4 core. So yeah. Thank you.
Definitely. I appreciate it. And for those who don't know, the core 4 is the core 4 values that every daughter should receive from her father. And that is available at ebooksbyejames.com. And also, going back to the Girl Dad Discussions, there is a segment of the Girl Dad Discussions podcast that we talk about the 4 core values. So make sure you guys go when you finish watching this, especially if you're watching this on YouTube, just click right over on the same page, click right over to the playlist, the podcast playlist for Girl Dad Discussions, and you'll be able to watch that too. For those who haven't, subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, and you can listen and watch both podcasts at the same time. And for those of you guys who are listening, when you get done listening to the Deals to Heal with E. James podcast, switch over, find us, Girl Dad Discussions podcast, and listen there. So again, thank you, Thuran, so much for being on. To my listeners, thank you guys for hanging out with us, because our mission is to help you guys to deal, to heal, and to fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. So until next week, you guys be blessed. Hey guys, I know you're enjoying the podcast. However, don't forget to join our text line at 866-326-0730. That's 866-326-0730 in order to receive text messages with new events and things that is going on and new episodes as they release. All right, see you in a minute. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.